Health advice. Every reasonable effort has been made to ensure that the content in this video is safe, but as I cannot be in the room with you, the responsibility for participating in any exercise or individual activity rests with you. If you normally modify movements due to injury, pregnancy, physical conditions, please make sure you keep doing so. Hello and welcome to this video, which is a step-by-step guide to Trikonasana, the triangle, sometimes also called Utthita Trikonasana. I've discussed the triangle postures in other videos as well, and essentially the triangle positions link us up to the energies of the universe, the great unifying harmonious energy of Sattva, the Rajas energy of combustion and creation and exertion and achievement, and the Tamas energy that is the energy that holds everything together. It's the stuff that binds things together and keeps them going. Tamas, funnily enough, can sometimes actually even mean joy, the sort of the joy that keeps everything functioning and holding together. I think that Utthita Trikonasana, the full triangle posture, is one of the most satisfying, most enjoyable practices in the yoga canon, and yet it tends to be very much misunderstood. People tend to focus an awful lot on keeping the front leg in the posture straight, when in reality, of course, the wonderful lateral flexion that stretches the spine on the right side and the left side as we extend into the Trikonasana posture is really all about opening the chakra flow through the spine, all the spinal energies opening up and helping to align us with the universe. As much as I think you can, try to focus on feeling the freedom and the ease through the spine on the way into practicing the Trikonasana, in all postures essentially, but especially once you arrive in the Trikonasana, allow that front leg to be soft enough that the spine really feels the energy of the posture. Because I think in Trikonasana, it's one of the yoga postures where, whether we're experienced at yoga or not experienced at yoga, it's almost you can't avoid feeling the energies that the Trikonasana releases through the body and also through the mind. We're going to think about starting the practice. So the practice will prepare our body little by little towards the apex posture, facilitating us to be able to do it as well as possible. It may be useful for you to have a strap, and it may be useful for you to have a yoga brick or a block. But if you haven't got those things, don't worry, you'll still be able to manage the practice. Let's come down onto our back and just allowing the spine to lengthen out as we come through. Lots of space through the spine. Spending a moment or two, now that we've arrived to the mat, to just space out the spine. We can lift the hips and lengthen the lower back, balance the weight out right side, left side through the pelvis, lifting the ribs and lengthening the waist out of the hips, just balancing the weight through the ribs and the shoulders, right side, left side. Supporting the weight of the head with our hands and lengthening the neck from between the shoulder blades, and then letting the arms come down by the sides. And just 3 or 4 breaths here, allowing the mind to connect with that length and breadth and depth of space that is the body. Thinking about releasing through our spine, allowing the back of the spine to soften and to relax. And just gently letting go through the hip joints, through the gluteal muscles, again to help release the base of the spine, keeping lots of space there. And then just gradually and gently, as you're ready, we're going to slide each leg away from the hip joint, aiming to keep the leg in line with the hip. And coming in then to a stretch, which is going to open the side of the body. So breathing in, flexing into your right heel, tucking the tailbone under to keep the base of the spine lengthening towards your right heel. And with an inhalation, letting your right arm move up and back and behind you. And then on the exhalation, bringing it back to the side, relaxing through the leg, relaxing through the hip. And then on the other side,
stretching through into the left leg, stretching towards the heel, tucking the tailbone under, breathing in, really reaching into the stretch, and then on the exhalation, releasing. So the idea is to feel that the spine is lengthening between the tailbone and the crown. At the same time, the side of the body is lengthening, and aiming to feel that the side lengthening of the body actually reaches all the way through to the spine, so that your spine on that working side is really opening and lengthening and freeing up. And then again, exhaling. So we're going to take this work through twice more to each side, allowing the breath to really dive down into the rib cage and to create space between the ribs from the inside. Exhalation to release. Inhalation, really lengthening in. Exhalation, letting go. Inhalation, stretching and lengthening in. Exhalation, letting go. And once more. And breathing out to come back again. We're going to move into a practice known as Ardha Supta Baddha Konasana now, so it's the half supine bound angle pose. And for that, let's bend the right leg so that the knee is directed towards the ceiling and the sole of the foot will be on the floor. And then often just by doing that, you might feel that you've lost a little bit of space through the spine in the lumbar region. So lifting the ribs up, stretching the waist out of the hips again, supporting the head and lengthening the neck away. And we're going to let the hand either wedge in underneath the right hip so that when the weight of the right leg moves towards the sides, it's easier for us to keep the pelvis level. Or you can just wedge it in towards the side, so it can go right underneath or just to the side. It will be more effective going underneath. And then sometimes if it's not effective enough with just your hand going underneath the hip, you can take a block or a brick and use that to give you some support there underneath to again help the pelvis from tipping over. And the reason that we're aiming to avoid the pelvis tipping over is we will twist the spine as well, whereas here we're aiming to come back to this idea of stretching through into the heel on the left side, tucking your tailbone under, lengthening the small of the back out, stretching towards that heel, and little by little releasing the right leg towards the side. So now muscles at the very top of the inner thigh begin on the front of the spine, pass down through the pelvis into the inner thigh. And when we do a position like this and our back just arches like that, those muscles on the way through to the inner thigh are not really opening and lengthening. It puts a lot of pressure on the back of the spine, and also it doesn't prepare us as well for a posture like Trikonasana, where the hip joints need to be open, but also our spine will need to be lengthening. So we've come into this position now with the right leg releasing to the side and the left leg stretching away from the hip joint. We're going to breathe in and stretch through into the left arm, and then just breathe out, really lengthening. And we can either relax the left side into the mat, or as we stay here and breathe, we can actively stretch and lengthen each inhalation. And then with the exhalation, just relax in a little bit. So in this practice, we both widen the body across the hips and lengthen the body through the spine, up and down. So a last round of the breath here. And then as you're ready on an exhalation, closing the right leg in and letting the left arm come back towards the mat. Let's slide the right leg away, aiming to keep it in line with the hip joint, and you might even already be flexing towards that heel. And we'll breathe in and bring the left leg up so the sole of the left foot is resting on the floor. So once again, either the hand just wedged a little bit into the side or right underneath, or the block or the brick or even a folded towel on the outside of the hip to keep us in position across the pelvis. And then again, as you're ready, breathing in, lengthening the spine, letting the pelvis be wide, relaxing your hip joint, and then releasing the leg a little away. So again, breathing in to lengthen through your spine, creating space into the pelvis, and then breathing out, relaxing the leg across a little way. And I really find it's a lot more effective in terms of opening if we don't go into our maximum opening just to begin with, but we come in gradually, little by little. So here I am again, Ardha Supta Baddha Konasana, this time on the left side. So there'll be a little bit of a back bend happening, but not too much ideally. And then once again, as we're ready, an inhalation, stretching down into the right leg, stretching up and back into the right arm, opening the right side of your spine here, and then breathing. Either an active stretch on the inhalations or just relaxing in the position. So it might be that the energy on the inhalation here in the Ardha Supta Baddha Konasana is quite vivid. It might be that the energy over the front of the spine is quite vivid. And so then again, gently, as you're ready, on an exhalation, relaxing the right arm, letting the left leg come back into the center, sliding it away. And here we can just gently wobble the hips on the mat, wobble the ribs and the shoulders, rolling the arms and the legs inwards and outwards a couple of times just to release. We're going to move through now into a practice, Susya Sarandasana, which is the keyhole position. And this is going to, again, work with this opening through the depth of the hip joint. So we've been preparing as well for this position with the last practice. And so we've been preparing for this position with the last practice, and we're going to cross the right leg initially over the left leg with the left knee bent, and aiming to bring your leg across so that your ankle is to the outside of your thigh. So I'm going to come into another practice, which is Susya Sarandasana, or the keyhole. And in this practice, again, we'll be working with the same hip opening that we had in the last position. I'm going to aim as we cross the right leg over the left leg to bring the ankle so that it's resting just to the outside of the left thigh bone above the knee joint. And if that's not possible, then letting the leg come across towards the right side little by little. But however, the more we come across to the side, the less effective this opening is actually going to be. So we're aiming to let our spine be quite long and the legs aligned with the hip joints as we open the inside of the hip joint and the outside of the leg, which is some of what we need in the Trikonasana posture. Now, if it's too much pressure on your knee joint to be in this position, of course, modify it. We don't want to overstretch the knee joint too fast. But if you can, even though it's often tough here, if there's no pain in the knee joint and it's just a very, 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 very intense stretch that you're experiencing on the outside of the hip in your muscles, then see if you can endure that in order to get the effects and some sort of benefits of opening the body that we're really aiming for in this practice. Now, as I come into this position, I'm going to let my spine be really lengthening from the tailbone to the crown, balancing the weight out across my hips, balancing the weight out across the ribs and through the shoulders as we practiced, and letting the spine be at ease through the center. And then in this position, I'm going to try to relax deep into the inside of my hip joint here on my right side, similarly to what happened in the last practice. And when I feel that I've got a sense of deep opening there, I'm going to aim to hold on to the length and the space on the inside of the hip joint as much as possible as I work to bring my legs up and towards me. And this is another point at which people tend to let the upper leg, in this case the right leg, drift off towards the side. It's not a good idea. Try, if you can, intense though it might be, to hold the ankle in position. Try to keep your right knee moving away from your body. And so this is where it might be useful sometimes to bring in the strap or any scarf or anything that you can pass in underneath the lower leg to help you just keep the angles on the hip joints that we've been establishing. So good deep wide breath, filling the back of the body there. And as you breathe out, really relaxing your spine, relaxing your back into the mat, all helping. If you've got a closer position, you may be able to press your right elbow into the inside of the right thigh to help you keep that knee moving outwards. But again, just think about your knee joint. Does the knee joint feel uncomfortable? If it's the muscle stretching in the hip, then that's fine, even if it's very intense. But if it's your knee joint that's taking the strain, modify. Don't hug the legs too close. Adjust the position on the foot. So we're going to then lower the legs gradually as you're ready, and then just aiming to bring this top leg a bit forwards. Now, again, as you bring the leg forwards, keeping the inside of the leg towards the front of the body, this is actually a practice. It's Bhairavasana, the sleeping yogi, and it often takes a bit of practice to get very far with it. So just as far as you can, lengthening the leg forwards with the inside of the leg towards you, and then just gently at the hip joint, rotating the leg so that your knee is towards you. And so the leg might be quite a lot further away, or indeed it might be quite close. Aiming again here too, from the crown of the head right through your spine. Keep the spine lengthened and the tailbone rolling into the mat. Letting the inside of your leg keep opening and releasing and freeing. And if you can slide the lower leg away, stretching it away in line with the hip joint so you feel your tailbone lengthen to the heel without losing any of the position in the upper leg, giving that a go. But it might not work, or it might. So last breath or so here. And then as you're ready, on an exhalation, just going to fold that leg down. Let's slide both legs away into rolling inwards and outwards, releasing, wobbling the hips on the mat. So now then, as we're ready, off we go to the other side. So we're starting with both knees bending, and then this time taking the left leg and crossing it over the right leg, trying to feel that the ankle is just to the outside of the thigh bone above the knee. And then, you know, because this is already often a fairly tough position, especially if we do a lot of athletics and we use our hips and legs a lot, really it's a good idea to spend some moments here balancing the weight through the pelvis and through the waist and the ribs and the shoulders, and relaxing deep into your left hip joint this time. Really letting go deep into the joint, keeping the spine relaxed as well to help with that. And then coming through, often with an exhalation, is quite helpful to bring the legs up, and you're still aiming to keep that space in the inside of the left hip joint. You'll be able to reach through to the right leg, aiming to hold your tailbone in contact with the mat, and again just thinking about your knee joint, not having strain in the knee. You can have lots of intensity in the hip, not just checking in your joints aren't taking the strain. That's definitely not the aim. And so again, it might work slightly better for you with a strap. If you're holding the strap, just keeping your arms sinking into your shoulder joints, collarbones nice and open, and the neck released, aiming to avoid strain in the neck. So here we are again. Just breathing it through, another 2 or 3 breaths. Keep the inhalation flowing, exhalation flowing, inhalation flowing, exhalation flowing, and one more breath here. Inhalation flowing, exhalation flowing. And so once again, just allowing the legs to come back to that starting position. And then we're going to pick that upper leg up. Still keeping easy through the inside of the hip joint. Releasing the leg, bringing it a little bit forwards towards us here. Our spine staying nice and long. Keep opening through the inside of the hip joint. Through and through, just as far as it comes. And you know, when I first started practicing this, the leg didn't come very far at all. So again, if you're still getting used to Bhairavasana, just let it come a little way. And then at a certain point, we rotate the leg at the hip joint, nice and slowly, so that you carry the advantages of the last practices into the hamstring opening, and that's the reason sort of for connecting them in that way. And then we can always let the arms sink down in the shoulder joints and the shoulder blades nice and wide, slipping down the back. And again, if it's not going to inhibit this lengthening in the raised leg, let the lower leg open in the opposite direction there. So we're breathing here, so 2 or 3 breaths. So your opening might be quite a bit further away. It's also fine wherever that opening is. If it's easier with this other leg a little bit bent, just focus on this hamstring opening instead. So now we're breathing. And then as you're ready, on an exhalation, just fold that leg in and let it slide away. And the legs rolling outwards, inwards, wobbling in the hips, ribs and the shoulders, releasing, letting go. And then it's time to bring ourselves through into the seated position. So we can just roll around and then pressing up, coming through towards seated. We're going to work 2 practices now, Baddha Konasana. Baddha Konasana with the legs relatively short, close into the body, and then longer. And this is both halves of the first practice that we did lying on the back, the Ardha Supta Baddha Konasana, only that was the supine version, and this is the seated version, but it's both sides together. And what really works here with opening the hip joints is that if you just, rather than working into your maximum stretch immediately, if you just a little bit support your thighs, and then look for lots of space around the tailbone and the sacrum, lengthening the base of the spine out of your hips. And then when that part of your spine is really long, support it with your lower abdominal strength and your midsection strength. Just let your pelvis widen, your hip joints release to the sides and the legs moving down. And then again, what I'll do is a little bit release the opening in the hip joints and lift long and lift tall through the base of my spine. And then as I breathe out, relaxing through the hips, letting the legs sink down. And then I'm aiming to come forwards with as long a back as I can. Almost inevitably, as you can see at the moment, my upper back rounds forwards. And so what I'll do additionally here then is let my upper back lengthen and lift up so that as I breathe in, I'm able to connect a sense of length through my whole spine from the tailbone to the crown. And then as I breathe out, I try to support the length in my spine with my abdominal muscles, my shoulders moving down, shoulder blades moving down my back, and my legs softening to the sides. And so that's really the Baddha Konasana. You can always stay there another 2 or 3 breaths. If it feels really hard to hinge forward with a long back, always just think in terms of, you know, putting a towel or a yoga block, or even just rolling part of your yoga mat up behind you to give yourself a little bit of a lift up to come forwards, and that should help. So then we're going to breathe in, come away from that version of Baddha Konasana and let the legs go quite a bit further away from us. And you may find here that a little bit of elevation helps, or you may find that it actually is unhelpful in this different position. Now with this position, we really are lengthening the longer inner thigh muscles. The last one really gets the adductors, which are a little bit shorter. And here it's the longer ones. So still the same thing, trying to breathe in to lengthen the lower spine, to lengthen both sides of the trunk, to move forward, keeping the inside legs as relaxed as we can, breath by breath coming through. With this particular version of Baddha Konasana, the opening is very pronounced through the back of the hips and the outer thighs. And so that may feel quite intense. So again, my back is beginning to round, even if my intention is for it to not round. And then I lift my upper body, I breathe in, find lots of space between my tailbone and my crown, and then I relax through. So sometimes known as the star of this practice, and in some ways it looks sort of rather similar to Kurmasana, although the legs usually pass under and through in Kurmasana. So breathing here, and then a last round of the breath here. Coming out of this posture, we're going to just lift up to that point where you feel your spine align. So head, shoulders, hips, long sloping line. And then from here, it may be possible to push through your legs, to push from the inside of the hip joint, inside knee heel. And then once the legs are extended, to turn the toes upwards, Paschimottanasana. Or what may happen is that you're pushing and your back automatically rounds up, so that's also fine. Legs come parallel and then hinging forward from about here. Or again, if your back is really bulging behind you, think about lifting up onto your sitting bones and achieving that by letting your knees bend. You should still feel opening in the back of the leg. If your back is quite rounded here, then if you again lift from the base of the spine, come up to come over, relax through your inside leg, inside hip, inside knee heel, lengthening forwards. Probably you still feel that stretch in your hamstrings. So 2 or 3 breaths here as we can really let the breath billow out into the back of our chest. That will definitely help. So then once again, as you're ready, breathing in to come up and out of that posture. From here, we're going to just think about rolling around so that we're going to send our hips back and towards the heels. Aiming to, once again, keep our spine really long. Breathing in, spreading and opening the hands. Inhaling forwards. Let the hands spread there. Going to come into the downward facing dog. So toes tucking under. Deep lift in our abdominal muscles. Stretching back, thighs and abdomen coming together. Really pressing the index fingers and the thumbs into the mat, ears and arms in line, shoulder blades wide, moving up the back, unfurling through the spine, crown to tailbone. Really strong, scoop and hollow in the lower abdomen. And again, seeing if you can release through your inside hip joint, inside knee heel, as you aim to keep your lower spine really free here. Legs may extend, or you might be working with the knees a little bit bent. At all events, seeing if you can support your spine from out of your arms and your legs and your abdominal muscles in such a way as the spine is able to really relax and lengthen forward. Nice deep breaths. And then as you're ready, we're going to walk the upper body back towards the legs. Passing through Uttanasana here for a moment. And then from Uttanasana, rolling up through our spine all the way through to standing. Now that we're up and standing, we're going to continue to work on opening up the hip joints. We're going to begin to add in a little bit more of a twist action, however, which we'll need quite a lot in our apex position of the Trikonasana. So let's allow the legs to go comfortably wide, not overdoing it, but just allowing the legs to be comfortably wide, because we're going to come into a warrior lunge position in a moment. And ideally here as well, if you just let the knees bend for a moment, you may be able to really lift and lengthen from the base of the spine out of the hips. And as your legs are beginning to extend again, actively lengthen from the inside of the hip joint to the inside of the knee heel, pulling up through the fronts of the thighs and the backs of the thighs. So it's a Virabhadrasana 2 that's going to come up now. Breathing in and then breathing out, hands passing through to Namaste. As we breathe in, we're going to revolve the left leg, turning it in at the hip joint, revolve the right leg, turning it out at the hip joint. Exhalation then to lengthen both thigh bones evenly away from the hip joints. Arch of the back foot lifting, outside edge of that back foot really rolling into the floor. Breathing in to open the arms front and back. Breathing out to hold on to our position. Breathing in to pull up through the front thigh muscles and the gluteal muscles to bring you up. And exhalation, you're back to the center. Breathing in, pulling up through the thigh muscles and then revolving the leg from the top of the leg. So this revolving from the top of the leg is part of what gives us a lot of strength in the warrior positions. And as you come into the lunge here, keep that revolving going from the top of your thigh. Exhalation, inhalation, arms lengthen. Exhalation here. And once again, inhalation to extend through your front leg. Exhalation, back to the center. Let's flow this a little, keeping track of those inner thigh muscles. Exhalation, inhalation, exhalation, and once again, inhalation, exhalation. Breathing in and breathing out. Just keep a check on that front knee that it stays above the ankle rather than overshoots it. Inhalation, exhalation. Once again, inhalation and exhalation. Revolving the legs, inhaling, exhaling, coming into the lunge. Inhaling to open the arms, exhaling to be here. Breathing in and breathing out. Inhaling to revolve through the legs, exhaling, lunge, inhaling. And center. We're going to come into the Virabhadrasana 2 again. I'm going to hold it for longer this time and add in 2 more postures. So once again, as you're ready, your exhalation, really lengthen through the inside of your back leg, arch of that foot lifts, keep wrapping your thigh muscles around the thigh bones from the very, very tops. With an inhalation, the arms opening. Now from here, we're going to work through that stretch that we had in the side of the body right back at the start of the sequence. So breathing in, reach up and out into your right arm and elbow to open the right waist and lengthen it along your thigh. Keep your back leg strong. Tuck the tailbone towards your back heel. And then from here, we're going to bring this upper arm, your left arm, right alongside your ear. Now it may be easier to look down, or you may be happy to look past your shoulder joint. Really bring the right waist under, right ribs under, lift up in the left waist, left ribs, long stretch, left foot to left fingertips, Long line through space, breathing. Opening your heart. As you're ready again, we're going to breathe in. Bring ourselves back up here. Rotate our hand, bring it onto the sacrum. Holding onto your lunge. And breathing in, stretch up now. You're lengthening through the right side. Breathing. Breathing. And then we're going to reach up into this arm. Breathe in to pull up out of that position. Breathing out to come center. And releasing again. Good. This is quite hard work. So then as we're ready, legs nice and strong. Feel those lifts right up to the tops of your thigh bones, because that's where you need the strength to sustain those long holds. Then as you're ready, wrapping the thigh bones around on the right side, turning out on the left side, and then once again the lunge. Both thighs lengthening, really open through the inside of your back leg. Arch of that foot lifts. Once again, breathing in. Opening fingertips to fingertips. And then as you're ready, it's going to be this time the left side of your trunk opening along the line of your left thigh. Really anchor your back foot to the floor, because that's the sort of point away from which your spine stretches. So send the tailbone under towards that back heel. Lengthening up through this whole side, right side. And then often it's a little bit easier to look down at the start. So although you've got the thigh, try not to rely on it too much. Left waist moves downwards and forwards, left ribs. Right ribs lift up and back, right waist lifts up and back, heart opening. Breathing here, long line through space again. And then once again as you're ready, breathing in, back up to warrior two. We're going to revolve the right arm behind us, pressing it onto the sacrum. Breathing in, lifting up into your left arm. Breathing there. Breathing, really stretching that left side. Breathing. Once again, lots of energy into your front arm. Breathe in, pulling up and breathing out back to the center. So let the legs be parallel at the feet, outside edges of the feet parallel, arches lifted, inside legs opening and releasing, but muscles on your outside legs working quite hard. So coming forwards again, if you can, let your lower back lengthen in, widening your hips, staying released in your hip joints, and then strong lift in your lower abdomen. Let go through your inside legs as you come forward. So again here, it might be that the upper back really rounds. And what I would say is, lift the upper back up to bring the spine into a long line. Knees can always bend again. Lengthen through the whole spine, hinge forward with the hips. Lengthen through the inner thighs, fold in. So again, you can bring the upper back up, whole spine lengthens, breathe in. And then again, lower back moves forwards, follow through with your inner thighs lengthening, spine opens down. I'm going to give it one more breath here. And then as you're ready, keeping your abdominal muscles nice and strong, let your spine lead, but you're going to walk your hands around, let's say towards your left foot, and then your right hand comes in front of the toes on the left foot, and your left hand comes behind the heel of the left foot. You turn the feet around, knees and toes in the same direction. Breathe in and breathe out and step your left leg back to join the right leg. So you've come back into downward dog, and if there's a bit too much weight in your shoulders, let your knees bend, support through your upper back strength, squeeze your ribs in, lower abdomen lifts, navel pulls to the spine, downward dog again. So after all that hard work and the warriors and the forward bend, just allow your spine to relax. Put the strength where you need it in your body to structure this position. And let it arrange itself in strength and openness so that your spine can really relax forwards and down. And then once again, as you're ready, and to walk the upper body back towards our legs, lengthening forwards and downwards through the spine. Breathing in as you're ready, rolling up through the spine. So that's been some quite strong preparations for the Trikonasana, quite specific preparations with opening the hip joints and stimulating the leg strength, lengthening our spines and the trunk of the body to facilitate our apex posture. And we're going to practice that in the way I was demonstrating right at the beginning of this video, which is to first of all come into a split leg forward bend, the Parsvottanasana, and then from there to turn the Trikonasana using our back muscles. As you're turning the triangle twist, it may be helpful to you around the line of your front leg to have some support, a brick or a block or a small stool, you know, just so that you've got something there. But if you haven't got anything to hold on to, you can use your leg. You can use the floor, of course, but you may not be able to get the back really level to the floor with the hand on the floor. And again, as I was saying at the start, it's really important to get this long channel of energy flowing through the spine in the Trikonasana. So standing towards the back of your mat, let's think about that, about 2 fist distance between our heels. And then we're going to breathe in and breathe out and step the right leg forward. Not a giant step, but long enough basically so that between the tailbone and the base of our neck is about the same distance between our feet. So we've come through there, allowing your inside legs to lengthen down, your spine nice and long, tailbone moving down, inside legs opening, pulling up through the fronts and backs of the thighs. And then from here, you can always breathe in, stretch our arms up, and then flowing forwards. You need to keep a little bit more weight in your back leg than your front leg. Let your back heel angle in, flowing forwards, and at a certain point, like about here, you might feel the spine isn't going to continue to flow unless you allow this front knee to bend a little bit. So coming down. Could be here already that you're using a little bit of support. As we breathe in, let the front knee bend a little bit, release through the inside of the hip joint, inside knee heel, and then lift your lower spine up and back, using that to help you lengthen a bit through the back of your front leg. So just 2 or 3 breaths here. And then that right hip needs to square back and the left hip a little bit forward. So now, the same way that we were practicing with other positions, we're going to, as we breathe in on one of these breaths, let our upper back lift up so the whole spine is forming a long line. So this is where again you might be using some support or your leg for support. Drawing up through the thigh muscles front and back, still lengthen downwards through your inner thighs. Lots of lift in your abdominal muscles. We breathe in, left arm reaches forward. Then using the strength in the back of your waist to revolve your spine. Right waist and rib cage moves down, right shoulder, left waist and left rib cage lift up. So now here you might be able to use a long stretch into this upper arm. Keep reaching your lower hip back, stretch your spine, and then your spine's already twisted, you're just releasing the arm from this point. So breathing here, looking for that long, long line through your spine. Breathing. And then from here, push your feet into the floor, pull up through your thigh muscles, lead energy into your top arm. Breathing in to come up. We're going to revolve our back arm, your left arm behind you. Let the hips swing forwards again towards the end of your mat. Tailbone tucks under. Lots of strength in the hips and the legs. Lift up to then move back. Breathing in to return. Exhalation, one arm, then the other arm. Flows forwards and downwards. Back foot adjusts. We breathe in and breathe out, step back, downward facing dog. So let the shoulders be nice and broad and wide, shoulder blades moving up the back, inner arms lengthening, outer arms working. Again, just allowing your spine to really relax here, to absorb lots of ease. We're going to then walk our hands back towards the legs, lengthening. And then as you're ready, let's breathe in, roll up through our spine, all the way back up to standing. Good. Second side, going to be really similar to the first side. So as we breathe in, breathing in, and then breathing out, you're just stepping your left leg forward, so that sort of 2 fist distance between your heels. And then back heel swings in a little bit, and then just thinking about tailbone tucking under, spine lengthening up really long already now from between the hips towards your crown, inside legs lengthening away from your spine. So we breathe in, we let the arms flow up, and then as you're ready, coming forwards. So supporting the length through your spine. Keep your shoulder blades driving down the back. And a little bit more work and weight in your back leg than in your front leg. So again, as you get to about this point, it might be that the spine doesn't flow without bending the front leg. Coming all the way down. So here we soften a little bit to see if we can get a little bit more openness through the back of our front leg. Breathing in to let the front knee bend, still got more weight in the back leg. And then you square the hips up, so left hip moves back, right hip moves forward. And then lifting your sitting bones and your tailbone up and back, and behind you, shoulder blades again can drive up your back. And reaching up and away. So it's about those 3 breaths here. And then again, we think in terms of bringing our upper back through. Might be using some support, bringing the upper back through so that the whole spine is aligned. So you could use your leg for support if that felt better. So then from there, we're going to let, this time it's your right arm move forward. Keep pulling up through your thigh muscles front and back, revolving the muscles around the tops of your thighs to keep your legs in position. And then you're letting your right hip lift up, right ribs lift up, left waist moves under, left ribs move under. Here again, long stretch through the spine, reach the sitting bones back, both sides of your waist really opening, twist is in place, and you add your arm in. So there, spine lengthening out of your hips and breathing, both sides lengthening. And then last breath. And once again, as you're ready, pull up through your thigh muscles, lots of energy into your upper arm, breathe in to come up. And then breathe out, rotating the back arms and the tailbone under, breathing in to lift up, and breathing out to go back a little way. Keep lifting up with your back muscles from beneath your back band. Inhalation to lift up again, and then your exhalation flows first one arm, and then your other arm down, breathing in and breathing out to step back. So thighs and abdomen can come together here, shoulders nice and broad, shoulder blades moving up the back, and once again just structuring your body around your spine so that your spine can really relax in the downward facing dog. Breathing. And then gently, as you're ready, finding an exhalation, we're going to let the knees come to the mat, send the hips back to the heels, releasing the arms back and behind us, and just breathing here. And then gently, as you're ready, rolling up through the spine, restacking. And then we're just going to come onto our backs. And just rolling through the spine. You can just probably relax here. We can breathe in to let the arms lift to upright. Breathe out to let the legs release to the side, just softening through the pelvis into the hip joints and then outwards. And then breathing in again, the arms can just go right back. Spending a few moments to allow our body to really relax into the mat here. Feel the points of contact between the body and the earth. Allow the body to ground through those points of contact so that it can really relax as much as possible. You can be aware here of the weight of your body, but also you may be aware here of lots of energy, lots of lightness within your body as well. The energy of your breath circulating in the chest. The energy of the breath moving at the diaphragm in the solar plexus. Energy within the abdomen. And also from inside the hands especially, you may be aware of lots of energy after the Trikonasana practice where we've just been. And then again, as you're ready, on an exhalation, we'll let the arms come back through and towards the sides and the legs coming back to the center, and we can roll the elbows and the backs of the hands into the mat, and we can slide the legs away from us, the knees and the toes rolling outwards. Spending a few moments to relax and to breathe here, lying on the mat. We've been working through a strong sequence of postures that has flowed lots of various different qualities of energy through the body and through the breath. And now the postures have left the body, and just behind the postures is the energy that lingers, the life energy that we've enlivened. The old energy that we no longer needed, that was weighing us down or creating tension perhaps. Just being aware as well of the energy of ease that flows in after the practice. Connecting with any sense of harmony that there may be through the body at present. Being aware of the energy that also lingers behind the practice in the mind. The yoga asana really call the mind to focus, to be fully present in the body. After all of that single pointedness of focus within the body itself, and often there's quite a strong connection between the mind and the body. The energy of the mind feels lightened, clarified. Just checking in with any sense of lightness, clarity, harmony that there may be in the mind. Gradually just becoming aware of the surface of the body, the boundaries of the physical body through air on the skin and clothing on the skin and the touch of the body with the floor and the mat. Just being aware of the energy on the inside, any sense of unity or harmony or yoga that there may be there. Allowing it to seal within the inner space, knowing that it's a resource that we can return to at any time at will. And then just gradually, little by little, bringing some movement back into the body, into the toes and into the feet, into the fingers and into the hands. Allowing the breath to adjust little by little in length and speed. We reach a stretch upwards and reach a stretch downwards, feeling the muscles engaging all about our spine, all through the back, into the arms, into the legs, awakening all through the arms and the legs as well. And then let's just hug the legs in and towards us. Circling the hips on the mat 2 or 3 times one direction, circling 2 or 3 times in the opposite direction. And as you're ready, just breathe in. Nice long stretch through the spine, into the legs, into the arms. Breathe out to relax back down again. Breathe in to stretch. Breathe out to relax back down again. And last time. And folding in again. And then as you're ready, let's roll over, coming onto one side, rolling up. Om Shanti Namaste. Thank you for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this Trikonasana practice and that you will return to Trikonasana many times again in the future. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please think about doing so. Hope to see you again soon on another video.
Health advice. Every reasonable effort has been made to ensure that the content in this video is safe, but as I cannot be in the room with you, the responsibility for participating in any exercise or individual activity rests with you. If you normally modify movements due to injury, pregnancy, physical conditions, please make sure you keep doing so.